I have finally, after 2 or 3 years of research, pulling specs, comparing, reading reviews of hundreds of e-bikes, and believe me, there are literally hundreds for you to choose from. I have finally pulled the trigger and bought an e-bike. And I really like this thing. I've had it now for about 3 months, obviously long enough for some accoutrement. It's really neato. I have ridden it a lot initially just to see how far I could go on a battery charge. And my first run from 100% battery to 20% battery, I went 96 miles. And then the second run from 100% to 20%, I went 113 miles. Third run, 104 miles.
I know! That's krazoo!
Now, understand, I live on the beach. Gulf of Mexico is that way about 100, 120 yards. And Tampa Bay is that way 10, 11 miles. And all of this country around here is flat. I doubt I would go that far if I lived in Roanoke, Virginia, or if I lived in Bisbee, Arizona. I just don't think that would happen. That's largely due, there's a lot of things, but largely due to this battery. One of the reasons I wanted this particular bike, that is a Samsung battery pack, and I would have been happy with Samsung or Panasonic. Both are top-end batteries. What I like about this one is that the controller is integrated into the battery pack, which is important to me because this bike will be mounted behind a car and driven thousands of miles at national parks and state parks and places I've never been. It's inevitable it's going to get rained on. And when that's happening, the battery is in the car nice and dry. You don't have to worry about the battery or the controller getting wet, shorting out, that sort of thing. That's one of the reasons. Of course, another, you have a lot of options through this really nice, tiny, I like it because it's so small, indicator switch here. You've got 5 power levels to adjust here. I have adjusted power 1 and power 2 way down quite a bit because, I use this thing as a beach cruiser. It's a beach cruiser. I ride around here up and down the beach to the produce stand, to the bakery, or the ice cream shop because, there's not much in this world can't be made better with an ice cream cone. I go 7, 8 miles an hour is all I go. So you don't need a whole lot of power from that. And additionally, I didn't buy it as an electric scooter. I bought it as something to help my gimpy knees out and to go 7 or 8 miles an hour when you're giving it plenty of muscle power and it just needs a little bit of battery oomph in there for you. You don't need it very high at all. We have a bridge just north of me, 2 or 3 miles, and it's steep, 80, 100-foot bridge. That's the only time I even use level 2. And again, I had level 2 dialed way back. But it's to get over that bridge, and I found out just the other day that if I simply downshift, I can stay in level 1 and go over that bridge as well. But I'm lazy when it comes to that big bridge. I stay in level 2 and go over it. But that's just one of the reasons I got this bike. Another one is that in the world of electric bikes, you'll find bikes in this category are generally around the 70-pound range. This one is 50 pounds, heavy for a bike, but very light for an e-bike. And that's because it's made out of aluminum, and pretty substantial aluminum. I haven't measured it, but when you look down the seat tube or the handlebar tube, it looks like 120 wall aluminum, which is pretty significant, which makes it light, which helps out the mileage and so forth. Another thing is that I really like about it are these Schwalbe Fat Frank tires, which are pretty well recognized as puncture proof. There's a Kevlar liner in there. Plus, Tower squirts some slime in there on top of that, so it's likely I may never get a flat on this bike, which is yabba dabba doo for me. The thing is just enjoyable to ride as well. It's really comfortable. And again, I don't go for huge, long distances. The place I go most often, every week, 10 days, I'll go to the library and switch out books. That's an 8-mile ride. And by the time I lollygag around a couple of parks on the way, get to the library and back, it's usually an 18, 19-mile trip, well in the range of the bike. And because I get a stop off in the middle, I get a kind of a break at 8 or 9 miles. It's easy to do. The thing has just been enjoyable. I ride it enough that the only time I fire up the car anymore is once a week when I go to the grocery store for that major reprovisioning, you know? Otherwise, for little short trips to the hardware, but even if you're going to the grocery for bread or lettuce or something, just take the bicycle. Thing is great. I'm really glad I got it. Enjoy it a lot.